Hey guys, welcome to your 7th Android tutorial. In this tutorial we're just going to start working with XML layouts. Alright, to begin, let's go ahead and go to our XML and look at our code. Every layout is required to have this height and width. We can specify these actual dimensions with either exact pixels, or we can use terms like match parent, fill parent, and wrap content. We will go over these a little in more detail later. It's basically more useful to use words like match parent or wrap content, which will be our most used ones, and they're more flexible to use terms instead of actual pixels. If you look, we have padding. Padding creates space within the view. Margins, which we don't have any here, but if we specified some of them, that creates padding on the outside of this view. So could make like a window pop up that was just this portion of the screen with margins, and padding makes it larger. So let's put just a button on here. Now we can drag a button on, or we can actually type this inside of code. What we should do with this is, if you see how it's showing an error and it says this needs to be an @string resource, how we add that is we go to values, strings.xml, and let's look at this code. And we're going to make a string. We're going to give it the name button name, and we'll just give it an emote face, because that'd be kind of cute. Alright, now what we do is we take this, copy this name, go to our XML, and similar to this, we add string resource, and then we put the name. And now when we go to our graphical layout, our button actually is that cute little emote face. There are different types of containers for the different types of layouts. Default is relative, but relative layout is actually pretty complex. So we're going to change our layout to be linear layout. So how we do that, we go to the top here, and we type linear layout, and we have to end it with a linear layout. But now we have a bunch of errors because some things in a relative layout work only in a relative layout. So now we have to fix some things. Let's go ahead and delete this button, and we'll add another one later. Our width and height is going to be match parent. Orientation, we can go Android orientation, and we're going to put vertical. How a linear layout works is a linear layout, the elements have weight. What we can do here is actually just add in a couple of buttons. So we changed our linear layout. Let's go ahead and put 3 buttons onto our screen. We'll just change this to button 1, button 2 and 3, and we're going to change the faces. Looks like he's like closing an eye and squinting. I always thought that one was kind of cool. My friend showed me that, texted me that one day, and I just laughed. Thought it was the goofiest face. Figured I'd share it. Alright guys, so if we go back to our XML layout, the issues we're having here is the fact that we're using an actual name, like hard coding that font in there, not the font, the text, when we should be using these @string resources. So let's name this, go to our first button, and type button underscore 1, quickie, at string, button 1, at string, button 2, at string, button 3. And when you save, the Android system really looks at everything and then it's like, oh, you're cool now. Alright. Now we see our layout now has these buttons that have different emote faces. And in a linear layout, we can assign different weights to these buttons. So let's take this top button, and after height, let's go Android, and then we're going to say layout, weight. And we can say 0 is set, it's set to 0. Meaning that it only takes up the space that it needs. And change that to 0 dp. Let's go ahead and change our height. And then let's change the Android layout weight again. And we're going to give it a layout of buttons have weights set in 1 to 4, so in addition to their normal size, they'll also expand and take up other space. So if we give this one 2, change that to 0 dp, and dp stands for pixel density. It's not based on like exactly how many pixels it is on the screen, it's based on their actual composite. Okay, so for the last weight, Android layout weight, we're going to say 3. Now if we look at our layout, one will have to scroll. But we see now that they're different. The weights of them are. So if we set them all equal to 0, no, they're not there. Set them all equal to 1. See how larger it is now? There are several different types of layouts we can use. A table layout obviously just displays things in a table form. It formats them into rows and columns, and layout width is actually handled by the layout, and it will be set for you. Meaning that if we create a table layout, we can't set the width. We just can't. We can see some of the items here that we can use for when we begin building our applications. Alright guys, you can make the choice of running your application on your own emulator just to see how it looks. Today we've kind of learned how to do the string resources, add buttons to our screen, change the text within them. One last note, these IDs, we might as well change them to reflect certain actions. So when we get to programming these buttons to do something in our Java, they're going to have names. And when you set it to equal to a name, so if we type, let's say we want this button, when it does, it sends an email. So button, btn, send, email. That's how you should name your buttons. So like, if we have this button, check email, and we'll just leave that one as it is. But let's say we threw on another field password field. When we look at this text view, this one's now going to have a ID. So we name it text, and then we say password field. And that's how we can name these things, so that when we began pulling up the names in our Java programming, so the R is reference.layout. Now we're in the layout folder, activity main. Just hit Control Space to finish it off. It finished it off for us because this is the only layout in here, but we are reaching from our Java file and referencing here. We can also do that with the ID name, but when we do, we're actually going to be using those names, which is why it's important to have them accurately reflect what is going on with these IDs. Alright guys, that is all the time we had for today. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.